Assalamu alaikum. What's amazing when we look at the life of our pious predecessors is that they didn't always have a very upright upbringing. A lot of the times they came from bad environments, they came from bad company, and they themselves were indulged and involved in many sins. One of the greatest scholars to ever live, by the name of Fudayl ibn ʿIyāḍ, he mentions his own transformation. Fudayl ibn ʿIyāḍ, he mentions about his childhood that he was indulged and involved in many sins. He was a highway bandit, and he used to occupy the main roads. And whenever a caravan would pass by, he would rob them and live entirely off of what he was able to steal. And he then mentions that there was a time, one night, where he was ascending a wall because he wanted to see this woman that he was in love with. And as he is ascending this wall, what happens is he overhears someone reciting the Quran. And the verse in that moment that he hears, أَلَمْ يَأْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. That has the time not come for the believers that their hearts should humble themselves to the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fudayl ibn ʿIyāḍ, he mentions, in this very moment, this verse struck him. And he began to reflect and think to himself that what am I doing? That what is, my entire life, what is it leading up to? And in that moment, he makes a firm intention. And he says, Bala ya Rabb, qad an. That, oh Allah, yes, that time has come, in response to the verse that was being recited. And Fudayl, he mentions that I reflected and said that from now on, I will completely change the course of my life. And from then on, Fudayl ibn ʿIyāḍ started his transformation and eventually became known as Abd al-Haramain, a worshipper of the two sacred lands, Mecca and Medina. What Fudayl ibn ʿIyāḍ would do is he would travel from Mecca to Medina solely in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we see many of the great scholars like Sufyan ibn Uyayna, Abdullah ibn Mubarak were beneficiaries of Fudayl ibn ʿIyāḍ. So now, what can we take away from his account and his incidents? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at one point will always send us a sign. But the question becomes, how do we respond?